welcome back to the Friday Club. Thanks for joining us again this Friday. This week, my break time with interview guest is Ranald Lloyd-Williams, director of Feel Good Films, the production company using video to capture your brand story. Ranald, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're really pleased to be speaking with you. Just before we dive in, and I know we've got some really good topics to discuss today, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Feel Good Films?
Absolutely. So my name is Ranald. As you can tell, I have been involved in the production space pretty much my whole life now, and I'm the founder and director of Feel Good Films. We've been known as Feel Good Films now for the past 2 years. Before that, we're a bit more of a generalist production company, so we used to work with everyone. But over those years, now we're 8 years in business. We really found what we love to do over those years, and now we specifically work in education, outdoor venture, and experiential and leisure space. All of the organizations that we do work with is a correlation of working with children and also marketing and working to market towards the parents of those children as well. So working with the education is an absolute perfect fit for us. But I've been making videos since I was 10, and this is all I've known my whole entire life. So my role as the founder and director of Feel Good Films is obviously managing our client relationships and business development, but also managing and coming on set with our clients with my creative team of 10. So my day-to-day is very, very different as a founder and director of a company, but I absolutely love what I do, and I feel like I haven't worked a day in my life by running my business.
The best way to be. So I was going to ask you if you've always worked in film and video, but it sounds like you've been doing it as a passion from childhood.
Yes, so it started with my grandfather giving me a camera when I was 10, and that kind of progressed from making films with my friends as a hobby, and then my university year is when it went from £3,000 to £9,000 a year. So I was like, well, I'm going to do something that I love and enjoy. So I went to Staffordshire University and did digital film and post-production tech, which kind of got me immersed in the professional world of film production, harnessing my skills as a video creative. And then coming out of university, I was fortunate enough in the position where I didn't have too much financial pressure. I was living with my parents at the time. And when I came out of university is when Facebook was really kicking off, and Instagram had just come out at that point. So I said to myself, I'll give it a year as a freelancer. No, not too much financial pressure. And that started with local businesses, and it's grown and grown and quickly moved to a production company. And now I have to say that I employ people, and we're also to get to work with so many amazing people and organizations all around the world creating content. Obviously, because of the world of social media that is today, there's such a demand for schools and every single organization to constantly be marketing, and video is one of the strongest forms of marketing, being that it's 82% of the internet's traffic, and I think that's only ever increasing with these social media platforms. So it's it's all I've known my entire life, minus a little stint of being a waiter for about 6 months. But apart from that, video creative, I was born within it, and then I'm lucky to be surrounded by so many amazing people within our business who help make the products that we do for our clients.
Brilliant. And what is it about video and film as a media that you enjoy working with so much?
It allows you to connect with people on so many different levels, whether it be common interest or emotional. And I think it's such a powerful medium to get your voice across. And for me, it's one way I can express myself as an individual through the content that we do create. You know, our film company is called Feel Good Films. You can probably get a quick idea of the type of content we like to create. We're all super positive people. We love what we do, and that reflects on the content that we create for our clients. And I think for us as well, it's been a tool for us to meet so many interesting people and organizations all over the world. And that's purely been through the medium of films that we've created that's connected with people, and that's how our business has grown. And I think it's just a great medium to tell stories, and I think you can get encapsulated with storytelling, no matter what your interest is. If you're into mythological creatures and you're into like fantasy films, or you're into like the more common day promotional films for organizations, like you can do so much with it. And I think video is the tool to be able to do that, and that's why we love working in that space, and me in particular, because I think it's just that connection. I'm a very people person, so that's our way to kind of meet so many interesting people, and also tell well worth stories that are waiting to be told.
Absolutely. And I think storytelling is becoming the biggest part of marketing, even for schools and universities, any educational institution. On your website, Ranald, you describe Feel Good Films as highlighting the best of humanity so that more people can connect with your brand. And I really love that. I imagine that a lot of school marketing teams will love that and will be nodding their heads at hearing that. How do you think a school can showcase their brand through video?
I think there's multiple different ways. I think the first thing to kind of be aware of, there's been a massive generational shift that is happening right now. So millennials are now becoming parents, and the students and the children be way more aware of video content and social media and marketing in general. As millennials, they make a lot of their buying decisions of social media proof and want to digest information in a very quick format. And that video is a tool to be able to utilize that. So I think that's the first thing to understand currently with even schools at this current state. And all those millennials and all the students and children of the millennials just understand good value and good content. And you can quickly realize when schools or other organizations are producing bad content, which isn't reflective of their community, their ethos, and where it's done really, really well. So I think there's just a massive note in that. And obviously COVID has impacted that shift quite predominantly and has kind of accelerated that shift where schools are shut down. People can go have tours, they can get an understanding of walking through those gates and understand the community and the ethos and what the school's all about. So it's been something that's definitely been accelerated quite quickly over the past number of years. And I think with schools in particular, how they can tell their brand, every school has that overarching story that they want to tell. It's that's walking around the school, that there's little moments that people have when they're getting a tour and the sort of interactions, and everyone has that community, but it's how can you amplify that and tell that to the world. And I think, we can highlight the best of humanity, includes the word human, and you want to spark that human connection. You do it in person, like easily, because you're having that conversation with someone, you can read body language, but how can you communicate that on a visual platform if your school is an international school and you're trying to communicate that message to someone halfway across the world? How can you do that? And I think that's incredibly important to create films that will resonate with people, and you do that by creating people-facing films. And so that's why for us, by showcasing the best of humanity, is showcasing the best aspects of your school through the people that make the school what it is. Ultimately, you can have the most amazing facilities, but it's the community which really helps drive why the school exists and what the day-to-day kind of looks like. So if you're a sport-heavy school, you really want to start showcasing, really successful sporting alumni at your school. So if you're a potential parent, a student or family that's looking in, and your child is very, very sporty, you could have great academics at the school, but you're tied into the more sporty aspect, and that's where you want to go in the future. By showcasing the success stories and the impact of some students have gone down a more sporty path, for example, that will really resonate with that child to be like, yes, this is the place for me. So that could be showcasing all the amazing facilities, but ultimately I think it's how the community have harnessed that individual for that growth side of things to get to where they want to be in the future, which I know a lot of schools and organizations do, but it's like, how can you showcase that? How can you tell those amazing stories? And I think using video as a format is incredibly important to do so. And I think ultimately, when parents are sending their child to school, it's a massive investment, not only financially but emotional decision. So you want to make sure that that school is the right fit for your child. So you want to ensure that the content that you do create is so reflective of your school as closely as you possibly can be. So we kind of describe it as a look through the keyhole. So it's like that little insight into, okay, this is exactly the school for my child. Now I want to experience it for myself. So that will help marketeers click through to book tours, get them through that, starting that process of that journey. But with schools wanting to kind of showcase the brand even better, I think it's showcasing the community first and foremost. What does it mean to be part of the school, and what ultimately impacts that community has on an individual from a growth perspective, and all while just showcasing that experience and showcasing all the people that make that experience happen throughout that journey. And I think most important note to kind of finish on that is that parents and students are looking for authenticity, and I think video is a fantastic way to do that. You can do that in every single form of marketing, but video can really help amplify that and get those true world stories. And I think, again, COVID accelerates that authenticity. Even if you're not looking at school, you look at brands like e-commerce brands, whatever it may be, people are investing in brands, and schools using the word brands for schools is a little bit weird, but actually it is a brand. There's everything about it. So people want to invest in something for the long run, and obviously looking to go to a school, if it's your first child, your second child, your third child, is a massive emotional investment and also financial investment. So they want to make sure they found the most perfect fit for their child at that school. So utilizing telling stories, showcasing your community through content, whether it be video or any marketing collateral content you want to create. That's a fantastic way that schools can showcase their brand and their ethos to their potential parents and families.
Absolutely. And I hear the question from school marketing teams a lot, where they'll talk about the challenge of finding out what their unique brand looks like, so that they're not talking about the brilliant academic performance they've had or the great pastoral offering. They want to talk more about the community, because that's what ultimately sets them apart from, you know, the USPs that actually quite a few schools might be able to boast in the area. Yeah, 100%. Brilliant. So when you're working with a school, Ranald, how do you go about planning what shots you want to take for a video?
Yeah, really good question. It's a question we get all the time. I think distinctive three-stage process for us. And I think for us initially, every school is so different, and there's no like cookie cutter approach then and package set approach that we can offer. The first thing that we do in all of our processes, we just go see the school initially. There's no obligatory for paying for that experience, because we want to make sure that we're getting a true experience of the school and get a great understanding about how the school is. So we usually go to school, almost get a tour. If we're a potential parent, we'll speak to students, we'll speak to the teachers, we'll just get a really great snapshot of what that school is all about and what is unique to that school in particular. So we find it's really sometimes hard for people who work in that environment in the day-to-day. They don't realize actually all the USPs, which they may think is not a USP at all, but actually really is, because we're coming in from a complete outsider's perspective. So what we would generally do after that stage, we're going to go away and, you know, if we're looking to kind of commit to a project, look to do our pre-production process. Very straightforward three-stage process. Pre-production is all the concept development, so coming up with ideas and approaches for the films that we're looking to create, includes all the storyboarding, all the script writing, we need to do that. And that also includes another site recce to kind of scout out locations. After that, we simply then, once that's all kind of signed off, we'll then head into the production stage, which is obviously just the filming aspect of things, where our crew will come down for a set amount of days and capture everything we look to outline. And then after that, we'll head into the post-production stage, so putting everything together, adding all the finishing touches, all the coloring, all the sound design, all the music, everything like that. And then we'll deliver that to our clients as formatted for every single social media channel that is desired, or the products that we're looking to create. So in terms of the planning side of things and the short side of things, I think it's so important to just get that understanding of the school. And from that, we can start that sort of process and where we can fit in and tell a unique story. And I think ultimately, when COVID happened, a lot of schools that we saw just jumped to do exactly the same thing as everyone else. They did a virtual tour. They had the headmaster saying how amazing the grades were and all those sorts of things. But I think focusing on that why aspect is incredibly important and allow you to ensure the content lasts a lot longer. So the planning really comes in that sort of three-stage process, really, but it's all unique to each school. And I think that's incredibly important to mention, because every school has a unique community, they have a unique ethos, and I think it's important for us as outsiders to kind of come in and see that for ourselves. And as I said, a lot of people may not think that this amazing facility, which is industry renowned from a sporting side of things, is a USP as such, but you know, us walking into the school environments is like a massive wow factor. But because people are so involved in the school every single day, 365, 24/7, may not see that. So us kind of coming in there allows us to kind of plan what we would like to do by essentially being a potential parent ourselves and seeing it from that tour perspective. So there's a lot that goes into it, but it's a very simple process at the end of the day.
Brilliant. So how often, I mean, I know very little about film production, as you know, but how often does a school need to, say, update their promo video or any smaller supporting videos that they've got on their website?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, because I think it's something that a lot of schools always ask us, like how often do we need refreshers? Obviously, when we kind of come in to schools, we get an understanding of where the journey are. So if they're changing their uniform in the next year, we'll probably hold off on collaborating until that's done, as an example. But the sort of overarching brand film, which we kind of offer, which is that story of the school, which will be the very first touch point anyone will have for your organization. It'll be on the homepage of your website. That film should really encompass everything about your school and the why, about why you exist. And that can be told in very many different unique ways. That film should really last a minimum of 5 years. I think you want to make sure that's future proofed. And that comes all down to the pre-planning, how that's kind of progressed. That should, again, because it's the very first touch point, it's a very first impression that anyone's going to have. So you want to make sure that film is right. And you want to tell that in a very unique way. So we feel that film should last a minimum of 5 years, if not more. But again, depending on the school cycle, if things change, then obviously that will probably need to be updated in part. But I think that's something that should last a very, very long time. All the supporting content, however, where we kind of dive in for ourselves in the more nitty gritty of the school. Okay, I'm brought into the emotional reason why the school exists. Now I want to find out about all the different subjects in more detail. I want to find out from parents, from children in more detail why they want to go to the school and why they're at the school. That supporting content is ongoing. That is something, because again, the world of social media is today, even though schools aren't, like big brands in the sense of trying to sell tickets to an event or whatever it may be. It's just about really just amplifying, continuing that community message, because people are always looking at social media channels. And as a millennial myself, I kind of look at businesses, for example. If I don't see something that's current or new, they haven't posted in 2 months, I think that business is out of business, which is not what you want to have when, as parents, you're looking at social media channels for schools. And it's also a great opportunity for the current parents of those kids and kids at those schools to see what's going on in the school in the day-to-day. And I think that supportive content, whether it be video, whether it be photo, whether it's shot with a production company or it's shot on an iPad or an iPhone, should be ongoing. A couple posts a week is enough to kind of keep things kind of ticking along. But again, it all comes down to like your social media planning, the message you're trying to get across. But that supportive content really should just be on a quite a regular basis. You're always touching with the community, so they would love to share that content, which will help boost the awareness of the school. But you're also touching on new potential parents. You don't know who's watching on social media, unfortunately. So you could have potential parents have been looking at schools for the past couple of years because they know they're going to be having children soon. So they want to see the ongoing relationship and support that their child's going to get if they choose to go to your school. So that's all I always think about, even with our business. You never know who's watching. So I think it's incredibly important for any supportive content just to be regularly drip fed, so that people are engaged and people know who you are and what you're doing and can keep up with any activities. So overarching film, minimum can, I think, refresh that every 5 years, unless you're completely demolishing the school and starting again, you have a new facility, wherever it may be. But then all the supportive content should be weekly, if not monthly as well. So it should always be at the forefront of your minds nowadays, I think, because of the world of social media.
It makes sense. One of the things that I really like about this sector in particular, Ranald, is that lots of people come from lots of different backgrounds. Many haven't always been in school marketing or have always worked with schools. And I noticed that you work with a range of industry alongside education. So you mentioned earlier outdoor and adventure, experiential. Is there anything from those industries that they do well in terms of branding and content production that you think schools could learn from?
I think educational marketing has traditionally been quite old school for quite some time, and that works, and it still works, I think, for certain sort of parents. And I think where the other organizations that we do work with in those spaces, they just have a really great understanding of the value and impact that great content can make, and also that helps represent that brand image, but also return on investment in the long term. They do things really, really well in terms of how did you find us? We saw your video and we bought a ticket for your attraction, as an example. So the value of that content is there and it's ongoing. But they also understand the value of doing something different as well, touching back on during COVID, where every school was doing exactly the same thing as everything else. Other organizations outside that are more transactional, I guess, understand that they need to keep the audience attention all the time. They need to be showcasing doing something differently and capturing in a way that's captivating. Obviously, because there's the culture now that social media moves so fast and you've only got a certain amount of seconds to grab people's attention. I think in schools it's a little bit different because it's a longer term investment. So parents and families will take the time to sit down and watch a 3 to 5 minute video about the school. But all that supportive content should be way more short form. And I think with other industries that we do work within, they understand that generational shift. They understand these new platforms that are coming out. Platforms like TikTok, it was the biggest selling app in the world last year, and is a video first platform. It may sound like an app for people for dancing on, but we've seen schools build their brands on TikTok extremely well. And I think that's where other industries, obviously, because they're way more transactional and not as a bigger investment in terms of a ticket sale for an attraction, they are starting to understand their consumers a lot better because they're engaging with them in the communities online, and understand that that's where a lot of people are making their buying decisions. So I think it's a sort of a combination of a number of different things, but I think it's ultimately understanding the impact of great content. So if you're watching something in film school, I learned if you're watching a film and the audio is terrible, you're immediately disconnected from the great visuals, and vice versa. So if you're wanting to make that really great first impression, you want to make sure the quality is extremely high. People can listen to it, understand it clearly. The visuals are beautiful. And then you have the other side of things with supporting content. We can shoot things off phones because, again, the ongoing need for user-generated content as well, which is a bit more rough and ready, intermixed with your professional stuff. So there's a bit of a blend of the two, but I think it's just, ultimately understanding the value of great content and how that can really help boost your school brand image and help support and emphasize your community more than ever on a bigger scale than you can even desire, to be honest with you.
Amazing. So it's really clear how passionate you are about film production and capturing these moments on camera, Ranald. What parts of school life do you most enjoy getting onto film?
There's so much. I mean, to be honest with you, I think from like a visual standpoint, anything that's super visual is always a lot of fun. So anything that's community events, whether it be arts, drama, sports, anything that's super interactive where the kids are super engaged. And we can be super creative in the sense of how we can communicate that dance performance or that drama performance or that sporting activity is always great fun to film. I think every aspect of capturing the schools is incredibly fun because you're interacting with children and they have a lot of questions about what you're doing. They want to get involved, and we work with kids and give them an understanding before we even go to a classroom. We wear these huge rigs of cameras and it looks quite intimidating, but we come down to the level and understand that they may have a lot of questions and communicate with them first, because there's no point coming in and shooting, hitting record on a camera, heading straight into a classroom, because they're not going to be natural, they're not going to feel comfortable. And that's why we take the time to kind of go into a classroom before, communicate with the students, get on the level, and then kind of proceed to kind of start filming. But I think for me, as amazing as the visuals all are, recording drama, sports, whatever it may be, I think for me it's the interviews, because you really hear the authenticity from children and also staff, whether it be teachers or catering staff, whatever it may be. I think it's incredibly important. And a lot if you hear a 7-year-old say, I feel like I'm myself here and I can be myself here, I feel like it's an amazing thing that what the school have done in the community to be able to make sure that that child is comfortable, be able to kind of capture that moment and communicate with the child, and only not even prompt them to say anything like that. It comes out genuine. Like that feels into the feel-good factor of what we're all about as an organization. Yeah, that's why we do what we do, because we want to work with feel-good organizations that are doing great things but just don't know how to tell their stories. So I think the interview side for me is a really special moment, because you're talking to someone on an intimate level, whether it be a 7-year-old or a 40, 50-year-old teacher who's been there for the whole career, and there's a reason why they've been there the whole career, because of that community and what the school is all about. So yeah, amazing.
Wow, I've really enjoyed talking to you today, Ranald. Just before we wrap up, can you tell us where our subscribers would be able to find out more information about Feel Good Films?
Of course. So we obviously have a website and a number of different social media channels. Our website is www.feelgoodfilms.co.com. People get confused of co.uk, but it's actually company at the end, co.com. And we're Feel Good Films everywhere on social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. And we also have a mailing list as well. So we send out monthly emails to all of our educational organizations that we work with to update them on upcoming trends, how we work with our clients, and all of our existing projects as well. So multiple different areas, but again, most commonly on social media and on our website is where you can find us.
Brilliant. Okay, and I know that some people will want to come and check out your work and perhaps talk to you after seeing how passionate you are about creating great content for schools today. You've been a brilliant guest, Ranald. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your insight with us. I've had a blast talking to you today.
Thanks so much for having me.
You are very welcome. Thanks so much for your time. Take care, and we hope to see you soon again on the Friday Club.
Absolutely.
Thank you.